I brought Max to the Aerosmith program because I had seen an excerpt on a documentary, and it was about Barbara's program. And when I saw it, I was so impressed with this idea of brain plasticity and changing children's brains, children who struggle with learning difficulties. And in our journey with Max, that's what we've always tried to do, is to get at the root of the problem. And this is what Barbara's program seems to do. And so Max has struggled over the years with language, with math. Max did very well from the start. He was motivated. I think as soon as he saw some success, that propelled him forward, and he wanted to keep going. And every day became a sort of quest for him to do better. And he just did very well. And so we wanted to then bring him back for a second summer because we wanted him to average out, and that's why we brought him back. The changes that we've seen in Max started last summer while he was in the first cognitive intensive program. And we noticed that he was being more reflective. So if he would have a reaction that was a little bit excessive, if he would get upset, all of a sudden he started pulling back, stopping and saying, maybe that wasn't appropriate. Maybe I didn't need to get that angry or that upset. And that we had never experienced before. We had never seen him be aware of what he had said, then articulate it. We also started noticing that he could understand direction. There was a child who was coming down, who was on the same subway car as we were, and he was lost. And he had told Max that he needed to get to the east part of Toronto. And Max knew, because he had been riding the subway for a few weeks, he knew that there were two different lines and that he needed to get off of that line to go downstairs and get on a different line. And he was the one who communicated this to this other boy. And he would never have done that before. Throughout the year, we started seeing him be able to defend his positions. So if he was arguing with his brother, and his brother would say something and Max would make a point, and we would say, well, what do you mean by that, Max? For the first time, he was able to support it. He could tell us why he said it, and it made sense. There was a really logical reason for him to say that. I said, Max, do you feel that Clocks has done anything for you this year? And he said to me, he said, it helped me learn how to solve problems better, and it has helped my memory. So these were two areas that I hadn't fed him the answers. Like in the past, I might have fed him those answers. Well, did it help you with this, or did it help you with that? But I didn't say anything, and he came up with these on his own and was able to articulate it. When I think about Max's future now, I see a totally different trajectory, a totally different road than I did in the past. In the past, I was so used to thinking for him in all situations, making sure that he was okay. If I was talking to someone and he was in the room, half of my attention would be on him, just to help him maneuver through difficult questions. And for the first time last year, I felt like I might not have to do that for him. He may be able to do that himself. For the first time, I see him accessing life in a way that he's never been able to before. Things make sense to him. He understands, and so he can partake, and he can be a full member of it. And it's wonderful to see it with his friends and in social situations, because a lot of times children who struggle with language and auditory processing and those kinds of things, they have a much more difficult time navigating the social networks. And so just watching him with his friends has been lovely to see. So it has given both my husband and I just a whole new, I hope, for him. Max goes to a private school, and he has a document to assist teachers with all of his difficulties. And so at the beginning of the year, the teachers all receive this report. And then a few weeks into the school year, we will meet with the teachers to discuss how it's going. And a lot of them said that when they read the report, they were quite nervous. They thought he would experience a lot of difficulty and they would struggle. And they were so pleasantly surprised by how well he was doing. He just seemed to be able to handle the work much better. He still struggled in math, and we definitely need to do that cognitive exercise. We haven't had a chance to do that, but overall he did very well. He is able to do the work on his own. I believe it's the only program that uses the concept of brain plasticity to change the child's difficulty. So it's not compensatory, it's not a Band-Aid. It's a program that aims to change their abilities. And as far as I can see with our son, it's successful. And from all of the other stories that I've heard, it's successful. So I think it's just a totally different way of thinking of learning difficulties, learning disabilities. Most schools only have simple plans in place to give modifications and to change either the curriculum somewhat, to give extended time on test. But they don't really go to the root of the problem. And often what I find, if there are programs that do go to the root of the problem, so they target dyslexia, perhaps, those programs might work with children who only struggle with that. So they might have dyslexia, but no other issues. A typical Aerosmith child generally has multiple issues, and there is absolutely no program out there that targets multiple issues or multiple difficulties. And so really, Aerosmith, as far as I have experienced, and both my husband and I are educators, and we work in schools, and so we see learning support plans from the side of a teacher as well as the side of a parent, and there really is nothing that targets a whole child that has multiple difficulties. You know, when the parents are here, we talk and we ask each other, have you seen something? What have you noticed? And there are really lovely stories. And sometimes the changes are so small, but they're really indicative of larger things. They're indicative of them thinking and using this new ability to think and make sense of something. So to an outside person, it might not seem maybe so large, but we as parents know what they've been able to do and what they have not been able to do. And so when you see them make this small shift, you really know it's a much larger shift that's going to impact their life.